Why most people never build real wealth. If you ask people what it takes to become wealthy, you'll hear many different answers. A high-paying job, a successful business, a great investment, a lucky opportunity, a wealthy family, perfect timing. And while all of those things can certainly help, they don't explain the full story. Because every year, millions of people earn good incomes, millions receive promotions, millions start businesses, millions invest money, yet only a small percentage build lasting wealth. So what's the difference? Why do some people steadily become financially free, while others spend their entire lives working hard without ever building real wealth? The answer is surprisingly simple. Most people spend their lives chasing income instead of building assets. And that one difference quietly changes everything. Today we're going to explore why most people never build real wealth and what separates those who do. Let's begin. Part 1. The Great Money Misunderstanding. From childhood, most people are taught one financial lesson: study hard, get a good job, earn more money, climb the career ladder, receive promotions, increase your salary. This advice isn't wrong. Income is important, very important. But income alone does not create wealth. Income creates opportunity. What happens after the paycheck arrives determines whether wealth is actually built. Because every paycheck creates a choice. Spend it, or keep part of it working for your future. That choice repeats every month for decades, and those repeated choices create completely different financial lives. Part 2. The Paycheck Trap. Imagine someone earns a little more money every few years. Sounds like financial progress, and it is. But then something predictable happens. A better apartment, a newer car, more expensive vacations, higher monthly payments, more subscriptions, a more expensive lifestyle. Suddenly, the larger paycheck disappears just as quickly as the smaller one did. This cycle is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the biggest reasons many people never become wealthy. Income rises, expenses rise, nothing meaningful changes. The paycheck gets bigger, freedom stays the same. Part 3. The difference between earning and owning. Here's where real wealth begins. Not with earning, with owning. Think about it. A paycheck only pays you when you work. An asset has the potential to continue creating value even when you're not actively working. That's why financially successful people often focus on acquiring assets. Investments, businesses, real estate, ownership. Not because they're obsessed with collecting things, because they understand something important. Ownership creates leverage, and leverage allows money to grow beyond personal effort. Part 4. The Invisible Enemy. One of the biggest enemies of wealth isn't low income, it's unconscious spending. People don't usually waste huge amounts all at once. They lose money slowly. Daily conveniences, impulse purchases, subscriptions, lifestyle upgrades, tiny financial decisions. Each one seems harmless, but together, they quietly reduce the amount of money available for saving and investing. And wealth is built from what remains, not from what disappears. Part 5. Why most people wait too long. Many people tell themselves the same story. I'll start investing when I earn more. I'll save later. I'll build wealth after things settle down. The problem? Later keeps moving. Years pass, responsibilities increase, expenses grow, and the perfect time never arrives. Meanwhile, time keeps moving forward, and time is one of the most powerful ingredients in wealth building. Not because it guarantees success, because it allows compounding to work. The earlier the process begins, the more powerful it becomes.
Part 6. The Ownership Mindset. Financially successful people often ask different questions. Instead of asking, "What can I buy?" they ask, "What can I own?" That small change in thinking has enormous consequences. Consumers focus primarily on spending. Builders focus primarily on ownership. Ownership creates options. Ownership creates flexibility. Ownership creates future income. And eventually, ownership creates freedom. That's why the wealthiest people often spend years quietly accumulating assets before dramatically upgrading their lifestyles. Part 7. The Compounding Effect. Compounding is one of the greatest forces in finance, but most people never experience its full power. Why? Because they quit too early. They stop investing. They interrupt the process. They become impatient. Or they constantly move money around. Compounding rewards consistency, not perfection, not excitement, not constant action, just patience. Year after year, decade after decade. Eventually, the money starts working harder than the person who invested it. That's the moment many people never reach. Part 8. The Appearance Trap. Modern society places enormous value on looking successful. Luxury cars, designer clothing, expensive vacations, bigger homes, the newest technology. None of these things are automatically bad. The problem is when appearance becomes more important than progress. Many people spend money to impress strangers they'll never meet again, while quietly sacrificing future financial freedom. Real wealth often looks surprisingly ordinary, because people focused on building wealth usually care more about ownership than appearances. Part 9. The Biggest Difference. When you compare people who build wealth with those who don't, the biggest difference often isn't income, it's behavior. One person spends first, the other saves first. One upgrades lifestyle immediately, the other upgrades assets first. One thinks about this weekend, the other thinks about the next 20 years. One buys things that lose value. The other gradually acquires things that have the potential to grow. Those differences seem small today, but over decades, they become enormous. Part 10. The Real Secret. The real secret to building wealth isn't hidden. It isn't reserved for financial experts. It isn't based on predicting markets. It's based on consistency. Keeping part of what you earn. Living below your means. Investing regularly. Avoiding unnecessary debt. Thinking long-term. Buying assets. Protecting your downside. Repeating those habits for years. That's how wealth is usually built. Quietly, patiently, without headlines.
without shortcuts. Final thought. Why do most people never build real wealth? Not because they aren't smart enough, not because they don't work hard enough, and not because they never get opportunities.
Most people never build real wealth because they spend too much time chasing bigger paychecks and not enough time building ownership. They allow lifestyle to grow as fast as income. They delay investing. They underestimate the power of time. And they focus on looking successful instead of becoming financially free. The people who eventually build lasting wealth often follow a different path. They protect the gap between income and spending. They buy assets before luxuries. They stay patient when progress feels slow. And they allow time and consistency to do what they do best. Because in the end, real wealth isn't built by one incredible decision. It's built by thousands of ordinary financial choices made in the same direction, day after day, year after year, until one day, the money they've spent years working for finally starts working for them.